We are hours away from former President Trump's Ohio rally in Youngstown. He will be joined by a number of GOP candidates that he endorsed to make a final fight to sway voters before the upcoming midterms. And joining us now is former Trump campaign aide and also the author of Wicked Game, Rick Gates, and also joining us is constitutional law attorney, also former legal counsel to President Trump, and also Newsmax contributor Jenna Ellis. It's great to have both of you here. Let me start with you, Jenna. What are your thoughts in terms of Trump's impact, especially as we head to the midterms? He's clearly planning a lot of these rallies. Is he still big decision maker, really the big kingmaker going into it?
Oh, of course he is. And, I was just with him at the last rally in Pennsylvania for Doug Mastriano, who's running for governor. And of course, Dr. Oz was there as well. And the enthusiasm from the crowd was just as great as when he was running for president in 2016, when he was running for president in 2020. The momentum is only growing for President Trump. Everyone wants to hear from him. Everyone wants to know the thoughts that he has on the economy, the state of America right now. He is the leader of the conservative movement. And so for all of these candidates, and now especially in Ohio, particularly for J.D. Vance, for Max Miller, this is going to give them a boost, and it's going to show why everyone who is turning out in Ohio to vote for America First policies really needs to vote Republican. And so, of course, this is going to help, and I anticipate at just as big of a crowd, if not bigger, as we had in Pennsylvania.
Yeah, I mean, the crowd size has been just amazing. Rick, what about with J.D. Vance? Because clearly, as Jenna points out, it has helped J.D. tremendously. It's helped, his batting record is in the 90 percentile, as we know, President Trump for endorsing candidates. But when he endorsed J.D., it really catapulted J.D. in a very tight race. What influence will this rally have today for J.D. Vance and the other candidates that are going to be with the president?
Well, it'll be a huge boost for JD. And you look at when Donald Trump announced his endorsement for JD, remember, there was a lot of push and pull from a number of candidates that were trying to align with Donald Trump. And when he ultimately endorsed JD, I think his poll shot up 11 or 18% and ultimately catapulted him to the nomination. And when you look at the importance of Ohio, not just to what Donald Trump had in 2016 and 2020, but the way that he has moved that state has actually been incredible. We always used to call Ohio a swing state. Right now, it is pretty much lock, stock, and barrel with the Republicans. And so I think that Donald Trump is going to have a continued positive impact on that. He's certainly going to help JD. And the thing that President Trump does great across all these rallies and all these battleground states is he just intensifies the voters, and he will turn out those voters come November. And that's extremely important.
Yeah, that turnout is key, and that excitement, the enthusiasm, that factor is so pivotal. Jenna, what do you think he's going to say tonight at the rally? I mean, there's a lot. I think about the migrants. There was another bus that just came in a few hours ago in front of Kamala Harris's home there in D.C. at the Naval Observatory. Martha's Vineyard, of course, recently, too. Or do you think he's going to talk about the special master or DOJ? Where do you think he's going to go?
I think all of the above and more. I mean, that's always President Trump loves to come out. This is the moment that we all get to just have a conversation with him. It almost reminds me of a much more enthusiastic, stadium-filled fireside chat almost with President Trump. And so this is just a gathering of him with his closest friends. And the great thing about these rallies is that he always addresses news of the day. He addresses what's on everyone's mind, and he speaks to it so directly. That's what people love about President Trump. So I do anticipate he'll take shots at Biden. He'll take shots at the Democrats, rightly so. I mean, look at the state of America today. But of course, he'll address, other topics as well, and anything that is on his mind. My favorite part of the rally is when he first comes out on stage to that great song, Proud to be an American. And it's just such a uniting moment. And especially in this country with what we've seen with Joe Biden and that absolutely just evil and divisive speech. President Trump now is rallying the country together and saying we need to truly save America and make sure that we come back to the foundation of what this country was built on. And for everyone in Ohio, for everyone across America that's watching, they see his great love of this country and want to be involved. And he is going to generate more of that turnout, not just in Ohio, but I think across the country for the midterms. And so I think we're going to see a lot of topics tonight. Yeah,
I agree with you. Definitely must see TV, and everyone's going to be tuning in. Jenna, thank you. And Rick, great to have both of you here. Thanks so much, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you. And everybody, of course, you can watch Trump's Save America rally right here on Newsmax, hosted by our own Chris Salcedo and Bianca De La Garza. Coverage starts at 5 p.m. It's going to be awesome. Make sure you stay tuned for that.
No crooked establishment.
None of that twisting the truth. No talking down to me.
Don't tell me how to think.
Don't tell me how to think.
Don't tell me how to think.
I trust Newsmax.
Newsmax.
They don't tell me how to think.
They let
me decide.
Newsmax.
Real news
for real people.